modification that I made to a tent that I bought to attach to the back of my van. And I think it's kind of interesting because I ran into a couple of problems here that I couldn't figure out. I researched the web, I researched YouTube, and nobody was giving me a satisfactory answer, so I had to come up with something on my own. Now, I'm not a sewing expert. In fact, I just learned to use a sewing machine in the last few weeks. But I know more about sewing and zippers now than I ever thought that I would know. And I hope that I can help you in a similar situation here. It seems like these videos are kind of trending towards problems that I encounter that I have a difficult time solving, and that's what I highlight. So I think it's kind of interesting. My purpose is not to get thousands and thousands of views. There are probably going to be a small number of people who are interested in these problems. Nevertheless, I'm hoping that you'll leave me a comment, give me some advice, tell me what I'm doing wrong or right or whatever. I'm really looking for involvement. I'm not looking to get a lot of money. I'm not expecting any money at all from YouTube. So send me an email, subscribe, click the bell so that you get notification of a new video. And I hope you enjoy this problem. Thanks.
So a while back I bought this tent because I thought it would be really cool if I could position the tent to back right up to my van and maybe even be able to open my doors into the tent. It would expand my living space substantially and basically make it a much more comfortable camping experience. So I started looking into it. I went ahead and bought it, and then I started discovering all of the difficulties associated with doing this. First of all, this is what I wanted it to look like. See how the tent flap sort of wraps around the back of the van? And if you look close, those four little dots at the top of the flap there are magnets that I placed there. So I can fix the flap to the side of the van using magnets. Now from the other side it looks like this. I can make it so that these seals are pretty small, I think, so I can keep out the bugs and basically have a nice living space there. So the basic problem is that you see this front flap doesn't open all the way. There's a closed end zipper there that I can't separate, so I can't pull those flaps all the way back. So basically what I have to do is I have to rip out the stitching along the top edge of that flap, the top flap, and somehow I have to figure out how to make that zipper a separating zipper instead of a sewn-closed zipper. This is what the tent looks like when it's pulled apart, and it's really awkward. You can't really take out the rods. The rods are in there permanently, more or less permanently, so that it's really easy to put up the tent and take the tent down. However, it also makes it really, really difficult to rip out that seam and then sew Velcro, patches of Velcro along the top seam. Now, I was able to do the center part of it using a sewing machine, which was also quite a bit of a challenge for me because I had to learn how to use a sewing machine. But after that, I was able to do the center part, and I was able to replace the part of that flap with Velcro so that I could separate the flap itself using Velcro instead of the solid connection at the top above the zipper. And then I put in patches of Velcro along, and I had to hand sew these patches of Velcro along the top, like 4-inch patches all the way along the top seam of it. And I used something called the Speedy Stitcher. And there are lots of videos on the YouTube. I'll put a link down below showing you how to use it. But it allows you to put in a pretty strong seam, and I'm not an expert at this either, so the stitches aren't that straight. But nevertheless, it does the job, and I was pretty satisfied using that string that they provided. First, I tried to use a nylon thread, but it was just too small, and I had to buy another needle, a small needle to use it with, and it was so small that you have somebody with more dexterous fingers and better eyes than me would have to use that small thread, but the big thread seemed to work pretty well, so I was pretty happy with the way it turned out. This is what the original zipper looks like, and it's just sewn in there, and it doesn't have the typical box and pin, zipper box and pin as shown here. I can tell you I learned a lot about zippers that I never knew about before, but I was told that it's impossible to convert one of these sewn-in zippers to a separating zipper that has a box and pin. That what you have to do is basically replace the entire zipper. Now my zipper is like 70 inches long, and I really did not want to have to replace that zipper, so I started searching for another solution. Let me just say that you can buy these boxes and pins on Amazon. They cost about $9. Now the problem was that the Amazon description said that I think these are galvanized steel. They have them in brass and different materials, but they said they would not work for nylon zippers. All right, and what I had was a number 10, meaning 10 millimeters across, nylon zipper. So they told me that these would not work in any case, and the reviews on these boxes and pins seemed to indicate that they were problematic, and that that it wasn't the most reliable solution. And as I said, there are a couple of YouTube videos with a lot of views that said that it was impossible to put this new box and pin on an existing zipper because you have to have a special tool in order to crimp it just right to create the specialized dimple that you need and all this kind of stuff. Well, it sounded like a lot of rigmarole to me, so I did come up with an alternative solution. And my solution was to create 2 new pins at the end of the zipper by melting the last ½ inch of each side of the zipper using a styrofoam cutting pin. Now this is just it creates a high heat, and you use it normally for cutting styrofoam insulation, but as I said, I used it in order to melt down the teeth on the last ½ inch of each side of the zipper and create a little block or tube or pin on each side that I could use to insert into the zipper pull. Now the reason you have to do this is that you just can't insert a flexible zipper into a zipper pull and mesh the 2 sides together by hand. You have to basically you have to be able to insert each side into the zipper pull and then grab it on the other side and pull and yank and jiggle until you can pull the zipper. And this is what the melted pins look like. Now they're not that pretty, I understand that, but they seem to work pretty well. Just take a look. So what I'm doing here is I'm grabbing the zipper pull and I'm inserting it into the zipper over that melted tube, and then I take the other side of the zipper and I insert that one in there also. Now the key here is that you really need to be able to pull the zipper on the other side. And what that means is that you have to have sufficient length of that melted tube in order to grab it. And that means that you have to melt at least about ½ inch of that zipper in order to pull it all the way through the zipper pull, and in order to have enough of the tube to grab onto. So with a little bit of jiggling, I'm able to pull it up, and now you see the problem that the zipper can separate unless you have some way to hold it together, and that's where the Velcro comes in. And so I put the Velcro together along the top flap, and then I can create a pretty secure top connection. So now I show that I can pull the zipper back down again and it doesn't come off, and also the zipper doesn't separate at the top. So That's pretty good. Now if I want to separate the zipper, all I have to do is pull the Velcro apart. Okay, you see it's starting to come apart. And then I just pull the zipper pull down and off, and it comes off. So that completely solved my problem. So now I can have the tent completely standalone like this, or I can have it attached to the back of the van like this. Next time I'm going to be talking about the installation of my MaxxAir fan, and I'm also going to be talking about progress on my water tube system. So stay tuned.